Jewish professor, and I was taking a class called The Origins of Human Violence, and talking about like the story of Cain and Abel and all this stuff. And it was interesting because we like walked through like a lot of Jewish studies. So we did like midrashes, you know, where we like did our own interpretation, and there's like shot, which is like a literal interpretation. And I've never done something like that before, and so it was interesting to see like how crazy interpretations can get, and then how literal you can take them. But there's just so many holes in the story. It's like, what's your approach on that? Because you were talking about that in the show about interpretation and how different people interpret things. And if the Bible is like divinely inspired, should we take it literally, or did God already know that we were going to need to interpret it, and at what line do you draw?
Well, I was aware of the Jewish midrash, but I said, look, I want to read the Bible. I don't want to read commentaries on the Bible. I want the Bible to speak for itself. And my approach was to take the Bible literally, unless the context indicated otherwise. I mean, there's a metaphor, fine. You know, when Jesus says, I am the door, that's clearly a metaphor.
Because even like our Pastor Robert Morris, he did this whole series on types and shadows, and talking about how, like, sometimes birds and beasts of the field would represent demons, and talking about all of that. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Well, like, I taught a class on Revelation in our church and made the point, look, the book is filled with symbols, but every symbol is defined elsewhere in the Bible.
Right.
So when it says that the Antichrist is going to come up out of the seas, it doesn't mean he's going to walk up from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. The word seas in the Old Testament is used as a symbol for the unbelieving Gentile nations. So it's basically saying that's where he's going to come from. And John, for example, presumes that you know all these Old Testament symbols. But a lot of people who really are targeting the New Testament, they look at Revelation and say, what's going on here? Or they invent symbols. I mean, I've read commentaries on Revelation where they just say, the Revelation 9 is speaking about helicopters. And I said, I don't think so. It talks about the locusts, but if you go back to the book of Joel, it tells you who the locusts are. And so, again, look at the Bible as an internally consistent book. Yes, it's got metaphors. The metaphors are defined. Yes, it's got symbols, but the symbols are defined. You don't have to invent them.